Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I have an interesting question I'm going to throw out there. I don't even know how to answer this question, but what reality are you living in right now? What's your reality? How do you define it? How do you define you, your life, things going on around you? How does it all connect? That is your reality. We're going to help you recognize that, how to navigate that, and maybe even change that because your reality may not even be serving you. She is Allison Rowley Clark. She is a health and wellness coach, a spiritual life coach, and so much more. And she is back with us. Allison, welcome. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
What reality are you in?
I'm bouncing from like the more fourth dimension to the fifth dimension today. All week I've been like hitting that third dimension and trying to raise my vibration.
So that's something that we've talked about before, but we definitely need to explain that a little bit more. What the third dimension is, the fourth, and the fifth. As I understand it from our talks, the fifth is the up and coming dimension that is here, but sort of not here yet. Totally, would that be right or no?
Yeah, that's where we're trying to get everybody in, which is more of a love, compassion, gratitude state. And I think we've all experienced it, but then we all come back to down to a different reality, which is like fear and stress and bills and that's your lower frequency. So basically dimensions, density, it's all frequency and it's all the way you vibrate.
I'd have to say, based on that, in our previous talks, that maybe I was in the third dimension, but I've bridged over to the fourth. Yeah, every once in a while I go back to the third. You know, you just do. You're human. But I'd say I'm living more in the fourth now, based on the way you've described it.
Yeah, because we're physical beings, living on this planet Earth, we're physical, so that's where we're grounded into the third dimension. And then like when you're living in fear, you're stressed out, you can change your reality by changing your mind. And it just takes practice. So when you're living in fear, I mean, a lot of great things you can do is meditate, breath work, just calming your breath, getting out of that anxiety, stress. Will boost your vibration up to like a higher frequency, which leaning towards more like maybe the fourth dimension, which is being aware, just being aware that, okay, this isn't a good place I want to be in. And then there's days where people just have the best day and they're living in bliss. Everything's going great. They're just living in love. They're, very compassionate. They're service to others. That's a fifth dimension, but that's where we want to be like all the time, 100%. And that's eventually where we're going to get moving. But there's a lot of us. So there's a lot of people living there. There's a lot of very high guru spiritual people, but the majority of us, we're just not. And I'm still working on it. I'm learning every day. And my goal is to stay here and get as many people to move up there with me as possible. But it is difficult.
Yeah, we should just have a bus. The
I know,
five
right?
the 5D bus. Hop on board. We're going. Like there's a song that came out like way in the early 70s called Love Train. It was like a number one song. And it's like hop on board the love train. It was like a soul song. It's like, all right, we're going on that train. Um, Based on songs and from the 70s, there's a song called Age of Aquarius. And I recently heard that that time that age of Aquarius is actually more now than then. They were talking in that song about it coming soon or sometime. Would the fifth dimension be? Oh my God, I just realized something. The
What?
song is by the fifth dimension.
Oh my God, really?
Okay.
Oh my God, I just got the chill. I didn't even know that.
I knew that, but
It
I
was like out
didn't.
in the 70s or something, right?
Came
60s,
out in like
70s.
1969, 70, around there. I'm a music geek. I got chills too. Like
That's crazy.
as I'm saying it, and I've always wondered because somebody told me that, the age of Aquarius, they were singing about it coming. That's the group called the Fifth Dimension, and a bunch of hit songs back then. So is that what the Fifth Dimension
Yes. Yeah,
is?
that's exactly what it is. And like we talked about last week, all of the music has the stories of where we're heading, where we've been, where we're going to be, and where we're going to end up. And the most important thing about all of this is the journey, because there really is no ending. we're always gonna like trying to be seeking higher enlightenment. No matter if you're in the fifth, you're gonna be wanting the sixth. Knowing me, I'll be like, okay, let's get to the sixth. Okay, let's get to the seventh. You know what I mean? Um,
Hmm.
but that's where I think you get out of your spirit body. And I'm cool in my body right now. But this is the first time in history that we're gonna consciously be able to move into the fifth dimension, which is our consciousness in our physical bodies. So that's why
Hmm.
it's so exciting. Like the entire universe is watching us, and we as souls all came down here, every single one of us, for this exact moment to help raise the vibrations. And some people are just going to want to stay behind, and that was kind of their plan too. Most are going to go. Um, but yeah, the music is crazy. And like, you know how we got the chills at the same time because we're
Hmm.
like energetic beings. And then when you said the song Soul Train or something, right at that moment, I was thinking, yeah, like a train. We're all gonna go on a train because at first you said bus, I was thinking train, and then you said train. I'm like, there's our
Weird.
telepathic communication. This is what we're all going to be able doing. So if you're vibing high with me right now, which you are, that's why we can connect so easily. If you're in a negative place right now, saying you're just having the worst day and I'm having the best day, our communication would be a little off. So that's kind of where it lies too. We can all be in the same room together, but sometimes it's very hard to communicate with our loved ones or our family members because maybe they're living in a negative mindset. A lot of people are still living in that brainwashed world that we were conditioned our entire
Yeah.
life, and it's so difficult to get out of it. It's constant beating yourself up about it. And I think over time, when people start waking up to this, there's a lot more health integrative alternative medicine now that is coming out instead of the Western medicine is just read by a book, take a pill. Now
Hmm.
there's so many of us healthcare workers, whether it's Reiki, energy healing, holistics, herbalism. That's going to be more the thing, and that's what's going to help people get to the age of Aquarius. As long as they keep their mind open, they don't be like, "Well, that's just woo-woo stuff." It's like, well, okay, then you can stay and
Yeah.
be in this negative world.
But I feel that more and more people are adopting to it and realizing that we have these modalities to help. So I just looked this up and we are on the cusp. I'm reading this, I just Googled it. We are on the cusp of moving into the age of Aquarius, and we're being asked to relinquish the old ways and harness the creative new. We will experience Mars and Gemini for 7 months, normally a 5 to 6 week transit from August 20th, 2022 to March 25th, 2023, with a retrograde season within that time frame. So we are currently in a Mercury retrograde, which ends in another week and change. I think we stumbled upon something here. We didn't even realize it, but almost came by accident with the fifth dimension. Um, I do realize when you raise your vibration. So, example today, go to the gym, and as I walked into the gym, I'm thinking to myself consciously, raise your vibration, raise your vibration. I don't know why I'm thinking, just bring it up, bring it up, bring it up. And I'm doing my thing, and I run into a friend. He's like a gym friend. He's somewhat negative. Always got stuff going on, and he's talking to a guy. He's about my age, and there's a guy there about half our age, and they're having a conversation. So he introduces me, and we're talking. And the reason I'm bringing this up is I feel that me and the guy that was younger were were kind of in the fourth dimension, where my friend there was in the third.
Mm.
And after a while, well, we had a couple of laughs, but after a while, it just felt like it was getting heavy. And it was just like, I can't anymore. And I could see like the eye contact with the other guy. And it's almost like he wanted to get out of that dimension. I'm like, listen, I got to get back to what I'm doing. It's good talking to you guys. Nice meeting you, by the way. And I just moved on. But you can feel the energy of where people are coming from. And this guy does sit in that one, either third dimension or that just a lower vibration. Let's put it that way. Great guy, but
Yeah.
has things going on. And
Yeah, and it doesn't mean somebody is like a bad person.
sure.
I'll mention to someone like I'll get really nauseous around a group of people and I'll have to go home and like take a bath and then they'll be like, "Oh, well, I lost you there.
No, I'm
Are
right
you
here.
still there?"
It's called
Okay.
camera
I
shut off, and that's called Mercury retrograde.
okay. Yeah. So,
Weird.
and then people are like, why was someone bad there? Like, no one's bad. It's just
No.
like the energy they might have picked up that day or the energy they naturally carry. Believe me, my whole life I lived in that energy until I woke up. I didn't know about vibrations or frequency or age of Aquarius or anything like
Yeah.
that. I did a lot of research. And when you do wake up, your mind turns into a sponge. I was a C student. I didn't care about this stuff. I wanted to play, be wild, go
Same.
skydiving and play with animals. You know what I mean? So now I'm like into quantum physics and the body, the mind, the soul, the spirit. It's like, who's this person? It's because my consciousness flipped into a whole different realm and I cannot stop soaking stuff in. And talking to you, it's like I can relate to you and just I could feel heavy by you talking about that guy. I could already feel like the heaviness right here. So it's like you get it.
Well,
It's like there's nothing bad about them.
he walks around telling everybody I'm his therapist. Because I guess I am, and it's just sometimes it's just too heavy. Like I gotta move past it, and um, but he's got stuff going on, and I understand it, I get it.
Well, the
But
problem is a lot of people they feed off Steve's light, right? You have a lot of good energy. You're a little light being. So someone that has lower energy sucks your little light out of you, and then you walk away feeling depleted, and they feel great. And I didn't realize that was happening to me all the time. Everyone's like, "Oh, it was so good talking to you," and I'm like I
well,
gotta
yeah,
go. So
aren't they
you know
called?
that's a hard thing too.
Aren't they called energy vampires?
Yeah, I didn't want to say it, but they are. You know, they
Yeah.
don't know they're doing it. It's not like, I hate saying it, but it is. It's like sucking your blood is sucking your energy. The word vampire actually came from that exact thing. They suck out people's energy. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
they made it into a character and called it blood and stuff like that. So
Well, I think it's real. I felt it, like you're
it's
saying.
it is a real thing. Yeah. So, I mean, just by you noticing that today, you're like, I'm going to raise my vibes. And guess what? By you raising your vibes, the low energy went like, ooh, look at that light being. It's subconscious. They don't know they're doing it. So they're going to gravitate to you. If
I
you
even
had lower
tried.
vibration, he might have gone somewhere else.
He, again, great guy. We've hung, a bunch of times, outside of the gym. I invited him to meet friends and things like that. But he always sits on the negative. And even when he's talking, I even try to give suggestions like, yeah, you might want to not use that language. And sometimes it gets a little raw, like there's people around. I don't want to be part of that. But yeah, you can feel like if you're mindful of it, and again, I know there are people that can see this or hear this and think that, oh, what is that woo-woo stuff? Take a second and just look. Just observe people and what their energy might be. Maybe even classify it in your brain what they've got going on. Doesn't make them bad people at all. We're all different. People are people. But you might even realize it, pick up on the energy, what's coming at you there, whether it's positive or
Yeah.
negative.
And
Right?
when you keep your vibrations high, people like that will like start disappearing
Gravitating.
from your life. Yeah, they'll start like you just can't live in that reality anymore. And that was like the whole point of like this is like what reality are you in? It's like I might see people, but I'm not in the same reality. Unless I'm in a low vibration, then yeah, I'll get a phone call for someone like on the same wavelength as me. I just try to keep it as high as possible, but it's very difficult because we are living in this dense world. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. Everyone thinks we're human beings having a spiritual experience. It's not. We're all spiritual beings. So like get on the train and get higher because the ones who don't are going to have such a difficult time. 2023 is the number 7 and the number 7 is all about spirituality. So this year is going to be about spirituality, and I'm really here to focus on getting people in their right mindset because we are all going to be, most of us are going to be moving into that higher plane, and I don't want to leave people behind, especially loved ones. All I can do is not force it on people, but just have them be aware of it because it's not an easy thing to do, and some people are comfortable just staying where they're at, and they're
Mhm.
going to you're going to see a lot of deaths this year. You're going to see a lot of weather destruction. You're going to see a lot of political figures and actors disappear. It's going to happen. And
we're already seeing it happen, even where
yeah,
we are. I'm in the New York area. Just heard the story today. There is a senator. They're asking him to step down because it was revealed that he he lied about his education. Said he went to college, went to this college, blah blah blah. He didn't go to college. Well,
yeah,
okay, nothing wrong with that, but you weren't truthful about it, so he may be taken out of office. We had, talk about whether it's Mercury retrograde or what. Look at the FAA shutdown yesterday.
yeah.
You know,
That was because of the solar flares they're not going to tell you about. So when I had
hmm.
my awakening in 2020, there was major solar flares. The last time that happened was 2012, which was
Wow.
a mass awakening. 2020 was solar flares. The last 3 days, the solar flares were so insane. And people can follow this on the Schumann report, which is like the heart of the earth,
Uh,
and it'll show you these flares. So the FAA ain't going to tell you it's because of the solar flares. And what's happening, the solar flares are waking people up, and you don't even know it. Like it's just natural. You're going to have, you might be exhausted and like get a lot of people are getting sick and illness and they think it's because of the flu, but it's because of these flares. But it's a really good thing, actually. It's starting to like change your DNA, change your body, change your mind. It's raising the vibrations. It's for us to ascend. The earth is ascending. We're going with it,
how
but they're
funny,
not going to tell
because
you.
when I was a kid, I heard about solar flares because I always wanted to do radio, and solar flares affect radio transmission. So it was always on my radar. If I would listen to like AM radio as a kid, I'd hear static and everything. It was from solar flares. So I wasn't even aware of it back then, but I wasn't aware of it until, how it impacts us outside of communication.
Yeah.
So how do you, how do you raise your vibration? Like you personally, your advice, if somebody wants to take it up, is it just being in a more positive state? Like how does it work for you?
It's not listening to that inner dialogue and a lot of times shutting it down because that's not your voice. So that can really get you spun out of control. But if you, I mean, it's easier said than done. But what I do is I go walk in nature. I literally, there's a reason why they
Hmm.
call them tree huggers. Seriously, go hug a tree. Trees have souls and they want the attention. And all you have to do is say, take that away, put your feet in grass, take a bath with salt in it. Very simple things. Meditate, which is very difficult. I have to do guided meditations
Me
because
too.
I have an inner dialogue, which I was going to ask you today, Steve. Do you have an inner dialogue? Do you speak to yourself in your head a lot?
Um, Consciously or not? Are you saying that am I
Not consciously, like not like, hi, I'm going to grab my phone and I'm going to turn this on, not like that, but just subconsciously, just always
I
like
get you.
talking to yourself, like there's a voice which is yours,
I got
but
you.
it's talking to you.
All right. So I would say that some people may be like at 100% hearing that, and we're not, by the way, we're not talking about voices in your head. We're just talking about your inner being guiding you. I would say I'm about like 40%.
Yeah.
I do hear stuff. I'm not going to go into detail, but I was guided this morning to look for something that is impactful in my life and someone around me. Not bad, it's leading to a better path, but I was guided and I wasn't even I found myself looking in a spot for something and I'm like, why am I even doing this? Why am I here? Why did I look there? And I found something that was impactful.
Well, that's different. That's a download.
It was, and
That's your higher self giving you information, and those you have to follow.
it's not the first time it happened. It happened back in August or July, where I couldn't find my daughter and my passport, and we wanted to go away. And I'm like, I moved. I don't know where it is. I got nothing. I have friends who are psychics. I asked one of them, I'm like, where is it? Give me, what do you got for me, man? Come on. Where is it? And she's like, it's in a box. I'm like, great. Thank you. And then I'm thinking, I just moved. Of course it could be in a box. There's boxes everywhere. So come to work and return from the bathroom. And I didn't even know what led me, but I have a metal box, like one of those strong boxes you store paperwork and things, important stuff in, on the floor. I already looked in there. So I was done with that. I don't even remember going to the box. It was like autopilot, going in,
Mhm.
going down, reach down, and I opened it up and I immediately looked in an envelope that I didn't look in last time. I thought I looked and there it was. But
Yeah.
I felt like there was something just guiding me to
Mhm.
it. So I think that's the inner voice, that's the inner dialogue that was in there.
You're very led by the spirit realm. Like you definitely are. And your mom's always there with you, guiding you, and it's just trusting it and believing in it, and then it'll happen all the time. And it'll make your life so much easier. It's just like I said, the universe is our roadmap and just follow all
Mm,
the signs. And anytime I lose something, I just ask the universe,
I
and
do the same
within
exact.
like a minute it shows up.
I do
Even
the
when my
same thing.
dogs run off, I go, Give me my dogs back." And all of a sudden, here they come running around the corner. So before I used to panic. And now I'm just like, universe, give me my dogs. And then they're coming. And I'm
I,
just like, I love it.
I do the
You
same
know?
exact thing. And, depending on like, if you're religious, in the Catholic religion, people say, pray to St. Anthony. He's the one that's going to find it for you. Now, some people say that works. But maybe there's something to it that, whether you're praying to someone or something,
Yeah.
or you're asking the universe to, hey, help me out with that. Listen, I do this all the time. I don't know if you do this, but when I'm driving somewhere and I know it's going to be like in a crowded city, village, or whatever, I'm like, universe, can you show me a space? I need a good
All the
space
time.
nearby.
Yeah.
If somebody needs it more than me, give it to them. But if you could, I'd really appreciate it. Think I'm going to be running a little bit late. Sure enough, turn the corner. Ah, there it is. They're good to go. Why does that happen? Coincidence?
Every time, because the universe works for you because you're a good person. And because you trust in them, because you're talking to them. If you're talking to them, they'll be there for you. If you ignore them, they're not going to do anything for you. And even if they do, you're not going to notice it. So they're
Right.
like, hey. I was like, all you got to do is ask. It's like your spirit guides want to work. They're here for you. They're all an extension of you.
I
So
agree.
they're like waiting, like, Steve, talk to me. I have a trouble that I bother them all the time. I'm like, God, I'm always talking to them. And
Hmm.
it's like that's what they want, though. You know what I mean? And
Well,
if
you
I
know what they
don't,
want? And somebody told me this. You know what they want? They want you to say thank you.
yes, yes. You
So
have
many
to be
times we don't do
grateful.
that. We're just like, hey, thank you, got that space. We're good to go. All right. And then you run into, the restaurant or whatever, and then you don't remember, say, thank you, appreciate that, wherever, whoever.
And then they'll do it again and again. The more gratitude you give, even you give yourself, be grateful for everything you have.
Mm,
The more universe will give you too. And that's the number one thing when people talk about manifestation is gratitude.
yeah,
Like, I don't care like what your life is or what it looks like. If you're still breathing, be grateful for that. I mean, just, and then the universe will give you more. But like, that's another really difficult for people to do because we always want more. Like when we talked about the age of Aquarius, that's more like service to others, and the age of Pisces, which we've been in, is service to self and materialism. And that's what we're getting out of. It doesn't matter how much money you want more. You can be a trillionaire. You'll see them still working, billionaires, because it's never enough money. I know people who are multimillionaires and they're scared of being broke all the time. And I'm
this is
like,
very
it's
true.
ridiculous.
This is
It's
true.
just fear.
Everything is
So
relative. Everything is relative. Whether you have
nothing
this amount of
matters.
money, right, right. It's whether you have this amount or you have that amount, you're probably many times going to be concerned or not. Why be concerned?
I
Because
mean, have you ever heard of someone on their deathbed going, I'm glad I worked so hard and made all that money? No,
right,
they're like, I wish I was with my family more. I wish I showed more love to people. I wish that's what people,
yep,
that's their dying regret. And that's
yep,
why we reincarnate. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And I'm not coming back. I already got my ticket to the train. I'm still working to get on the train. The ticket's there. I'm not coming back on this little shit show that we got. Sorry, language.
Quite all right.
I'm
Quite
not,
all right.
I've been
Yeah.
doing the work and I'm going to continue doing the work. And I want other people to do the work too, because it's magical and it's just going to get better.
Well, I have two words, and it sounds like they apply to you, and I work with those words and others. Move forward,
Yeah.
move forward. You know, even
Always.
people say to me in my journey when there was some struggles, a couple of years ago, like, how are you doing it? How are you getting by? Hey, move forward, move forward. Just keep going forward. Um, because why wouldn't you? You know?
You don't look backwards. There's nothing there. It's already gone. The past, it doesn't even exist anymore. The future doesn't exist at all. And when you live in the present and you just flow with it, that's where your life just everything goes so smoothly. And that's the hardest for us to do. They call it a
Yeah.
present for a reason. It's a gift.
True.
I mean,
I don't know. Do
so
we
we're
have that?
always working for the future.
We're just about out of time. But do we ever talk about that? How there is a question as to whether time exists.
It does not.
Einstein says it doesn't exist. Like the
Mhm.
past, what is the past? It Where did it go? We might have a record of that, but your view of the past is different than my view of the past, and the future not here yet. Might not get here. You might think that's going to happen in the future, but not, how do we know? Didn't happen. No guarantee.
It's man-made concepts. I mean, think about like the early time, caveman times. There was no time. They followed nature. They followed the sun. I mean,
Mm,
so it's all an illusion. We're in a simulation. People are gonna wake up to that and freak out. But once you get used to it, then you can play with it.
yeah.
So
Uh,
even death doesn't exist. We just leave these physical bodies. Our soul, our spirit lives forever. And then we go off and we travel to other planets and we get to do what we want and enjoy ourselves. So like don't mourn the dead, like work for yourself, do the best life you can here. And then when you die, you can pick whatever you want to do too. You're just leaving this body. I call it our little meat suits. There's space suits.
meat
There's
suits.
space suits in space. These are our meat suits. We have to be grounded in these suits. And so take care of it too
Oh,
because they work
I
for you.
agree. You know, when you think about it, we're all energy. So when you pass on, you're out of the the meat suits, and then
Yeah, that's all
uh,
it is. And then you're like, oh, that was so heavy.
and guess
You're
what's
like, now I
left?
get to go fly around.
Guess what's left? Your energy. Your energy,
Exactly.
right?
Energy doesn't die.
And I had this conversation with somebody yesterday, and they're on board for everything except when it comes to psychics communicating with somebody who's passed over. And I've witnessed it. I've seen it. People who are legit. I believe in it totally because I don't believe there's any way that you could come up back with those validations so specific. I'm talking about good connections. How was that done? I
Yeah.
believe it's the energy that they're tapping into of the person that
They're
has.
just raising their vibrations. Like the higher dimensions can work with us. It's hard. We have to match them equally because they can't come all the way down here because it's too dense. So when we're here and they're here, we just kind of that's what mediums do. They meet right there in the middle.
Mm,
And that's why I talk to my spirit team all the time because I just make sure I have to raise my vibration. I know when I'm in a low vibration, I'm not hearing from them at all. Like my ears are ringing right now. It's not tinnitus. I know I'm vibing high. They've been ringing for almost 3 years since my awakening. And when they're not, that's when I go, oh,
mm.
okay, I got to get my vibrations high. And it would normally drive most people nuts. It took me a while, but now I notice when they're not ringing. I almost don't notice it when they are.
Wow.
And they're going crazy right now because I'm probably talking to you. Your vibrations are just all the way up there.
Well, I'm happy that you say that. And what's going crazy is the people in the engineering room because we're running late. So
Okay.
I don't get cut
Don't
off.
cut us off again.
No, please don't. Journeytoheavenonearth.com is your
Yeah.
website, right?
Yeah.
And you can help somebody, coach them along spiritually, even on a health and wellness level. You've had a spiritual awakening, which is profound. And if anybody even thinks that something has happened to them in that regard, you are the go-to person. There's not even
Call
a
me. Yeah,
question
we
about
do.
it. But journeytoheavenonearth.com. Allison, always great talking with you.
You too, Steve.
Yeah,
We'll talk again next
yeah.
week.
Keep the vibration high, right?
You too.
All
Stay away
right.
from the energy vampires.
All right. Hop on the train, the
All
5D
right.
train.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
We'll talk soon.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.